There's a question many people ask once they begin to understand how narcissists think and operate. What should you never tell a narcissist? When you're dealing with someone who thrives on control, admiration, and emotional power, every word you share can become a tool, sometimes even a weapon in their hands. The narcissist listens, not to connect, but to collect information. Everything you reveal about your fears, insecurities, or desires can later be used to manipulate, guilt, or control you. In this video, we'll explore what you should never tell a narcissist, and more importantly, why keeping certain things private is essential for your emotional safety and self-respect. To understand this, let's start from the psychology of narcissism. According to the DSM-5, narcissistic personality disorder is characterized by grandiosity, a need for admiration, and a lack of empathy. But underneath those traits lies a fragile self-esteem that depends on external validation. Otto Kernberg, one of the leading experts on narcissism, described the narcissist as someone with a split self. One side inflated with superiority and another buried in shame and insecurity. The narcissist's interactions with others are not based on genuine connection, but on regulation. They seek admiration to stabilize their fragile ego. This means that when you open up emotionally to a narcissist, you're not speaking to someone who truly listens with empathy. You're speaking to someone who unconsciously scans your words for leverage. So, the first rule is simple. Don't give them emotional ammunition. Let's look at the main things you should never tell a narcissist, and why. And #1. Never tell a narcissist your deepest insecurities. When you share your vulnerabilities with a healthy person, it creates closeness and trust. When you share them with a narcissist, it creates risk. Narcissists often store this information and later weaponize it. For example, if you say, "I'm afraid of being abandoned," they might one day withdraw affection to make you feel insecure and dependent. If you admit, "I don't like confrontation," they'll push your limits just to see how far you'll go before reacting. Vulnerability to them isn't sacred, it's strategy. Heinz Kohut, the founder of self-psychology, explained that narcissists lack the capacity to mirror others with empathy because they're too busy protecting their own fragile self. This is why your openness can unintentionally trigger their sense of power. They see your honesty not as a gift, but as an opportunity to gain control. Chapter 2. Never tell a narcissist how much you care about them. This may sound harsh, but hear it out. When a narcissist knows how much you care, it doesn't necessarily make them love you more. Instead, it often makes them feel secure enough to test how much you'll tolerate. They begin to see your affection as a guarantee, not a gift. That's when emotional manipulation begins. They might withdraw attention, start arguments, or even make you jealous, just to confirm they still have power over your emotions. True intimacy for a narcissist isn't about closeness, it's about control. So, if they sense you've already fallen, they may lose interest or start pushing boundaries. Keep your care genuine, but protect your emotional balance. Chapter 3. Never tell a narcissist about your past trauma. This is one of the biggest mistakes empathetic people make, especially those who believe that being open will create understanding. But for a narcissist, your trauma isn't something to empathize with. It's something to exploit. If you tell them about a painful past relationship, they may later use it against you. You might hear, "You're too sensitive because of your ex," or "You're paranoid. Not everyone is like before." In moments of conflict, they can even mimic your trauma triggers to destabilize you. Elsa Roningstam, psychologist at Harvard University, points out that narcissists often lack the capacity for emotional reciprocity. They may appear empathetic at first, but struggle to sustain it over time. Sharing deep wounds with someone like that often leads to disappointment because they interpret your pain through a self-centered lens. How does this make me look? Or how can I use this to get closer or gain control? Chapter 4. Never tell a narcissist your plans, dreams, or goals. At first, they may seem supportive or even enthusiastic, but as soon as your success threatens to outshine theirs, the dynamic changes. The narcissist world is built on comparison and hierarchy. They need to be the one on top. If your dream makes you look powerful, independent, or admired, they might start to undermine it subtly. They could say, "That's not realistic," or "You're not really cut out for that." They might even act jealous or sabotage your progress. Kernberg described this as the narcissist's inability to tolerate equality. They can't handle when others achieve something that challenges their illusion of superiority. So your best move is to keep your ambitions private until they're achieved, and surround yourself with people who can celebrate your growth, not compete with it. #5. Never tell a narcissist your boundaries. Show them. When you clearly state your boundaries to a narcissist, "If you yell at me, I'll leave," or "I won't tolerate manipulation," you're actually giving them a map. And narcissists are strategists. They'll test your limits, push them gradually, and see what happens if they cross the line. They don't respect verbal boundaries, they respect enforced ones. The best approach is behavioral. Instead of warning, act. If they overstep, withdraw calmly. If they manipulate, don't react emotionally. Your silence and consistency are far more powerful than explanations. #6. Never tell a narcissist they've hurt you, at least not in the moment. When you express pain to a healthy person, it invites understanding. When you express pain to a narcissist, it can sometimes excite them. They experience your emotional reaction as proof of their impact, and that gives them power. Of course, this doesn't mean you should suppress your emotions forever, but timing is everything. Wait until you're emotionally grounded and detached before expressing how their behavior affected you, or choose not to at all. The goal isn't to make them understand. Most won't, but to preserve your emotional energy. Chapter 7. Never tell a narcissist you've figured them out. This is perhaps the most dangerous thing you can do. When a narcissist senses that you see through them, they often react with narcissistic rage or discard. They feel exposed, and exposure is their worst fear. Their mask exists to hide the fragile, shame-filled self underneath. Calling them out directly, saying things like, "You're a narcissist, you're manipulating me," or "I see what you're doing," usually triggers defensiveness, denial, or revenge. They might turn others against you, play the victim, or escalate the conflict. It's not your job to diagnose them. It's your job to protect yourself. Ultimately, what you should never tell a narcissist are the things that give them power over your emotions. They feed on reaction, whether it's admiration or anger. What disarms them isn't confrontation, but composure. The less they know about your inner world, the less control they have over it. This doesn't mean you need to become cold or distant. It means you choose strategic silence. You preserve your truth for people who can honor it. You share your stories with those who listen to understand, not to use. So, what should you never tell a narcissist? Never give them your fears, your pain, your plans, or your need for their approval. Because every time you hold something sacred within yourself, you take back a piece of your power. And in the end, that's what the narcissist fears most. Not your anger, not your rejection, but your independence. When you no longer need their validation, their control ends and your freedom begins.